Hi and welcome back to another episode. On today's episode I'm going to be discussing some of the training aids that I like to use when training my detection dogs. Now there's quite a variety of things that we can use when we're trying to conceal the target itself, because the last thing we want is the dog picking up the target odour and basically swallowing it, then having to go to the vet to have it removed, so on. So first of all, what I want to discuss is going on to the bird cages. Now the bird cages you can pick up from your local pet shop, you know, they're only used to put seeds in for the birds. So this makes really good concealment because it prevents the dog from trying to lick it, chew it, whatever. So you get different sizes, such as, you know, you get the bigger graded ones or the smaller graded ones. Most of them come with a chain on. These are for hanging on branches and stuff like that, but you know, you can hang it up on screws and whatever there is accessible to you at the time. So that's them. And moving on to something a little bit more magnetic. So if we're doing vehicle searching, we like to put the say we're doing underneath the vehicles, then these can be used for that because you've got a nice little magnetic on the side, and you put your scent inside, your target scent inside, and you've got some holes on each side of the cube, which allows the scent to make its way out there, giving the dog access to the odour bubble. And these can also come in different sizes. I have these made by a good friend of mine. If you want to order, then we can put the link on there. They're not that expensive. You go on some sites and they charge a fortune for them because they've got the samples such as heroin or cocaine drilled into them. You know, at the end of the day, they're so easy to clean out at the end of training. You can put them in the dishwasher so they're nice and sterilised, ready for next time. Coming on to the flower pots. So I use flower pots to put the target in. As you can see behind me, I've got quite a lot of these and I use them for the scent ID training. I always start off with the easy ones though, so the mesh top is probably the easiest one for the dogs to start the training on because it's really allowing that scent to escape from the point itself. Once I'm happy that they're giving me an indication and finding the scent quite easy, I move on to the next pot, which is a more solid top, plenty of holes in there, so it's still allowing that scent to escape. You just kind of like making it harder bit by bit for the dogs. And once they start hitting on this pot, the scent within the pot, I move on to the more advanced pot. And this one has like 3 settings. So the first one, you've got 3 large holes. And then the second one, you've got small holes, but more of them. And then on the very last setting, you've got about 9 holes, but really, really small holes. So these are used quite well for the dogs, you know, especially when you're trying to make it a little bit more difficult, where they've really got to work for the scent to give you the indication. And we'll use these majority of the time unless it's a new dog in training. If you're not able to get your hands on any of the flower pots, then there are some things you can use from home. I can't remember what actually this was used for, but I know that I've got it. And all I've done on this, you know, it's plastic. So I won't use glass because glass breaks, whereas plastic doesn't. Well, not as easy as glass anyway. It's a plastic lid. All I've done is just drill a hole through there. It is a screw top, so just make sure you're not putting anything too sensitive into there. That's going to cause friction. Second pot is a smaller pot and with more holes in there. It's not much difference, you know. On here you've got more of a depth, but there isn't that much more of a depth. On this one, you've got more holes. These are just for concealment, so not anything to make it hard for the dogs. It's just to prevent the dogs from licking or eating the target itself. But what we use these little test tubes for when we're really trying to get the dog to focus in certain areas and make it a little bit more advanced for them. And all I do on here is just drill 4 holes at the top of the lid and place it back on. Again, it is screw tops, just bear in mind of the friction that you may cause if you're using anything sensitive. We'll use about 12 of these in the search area to allow the dog to get. We'll fill these up with about 1 gram of sample, whatever we're using on the day, just to really get the dogs using the nose. Another thing that we find ourselves using quite often for scent ID days are bird box. So these are all handmade and basically it's got a slide on lid on and off. They're about 10 inches in depth. they've got a hole there to allow the scent to escape, and what we will do is place them with the hole facing up, and we'll have these scattered around, maybe in a line, zigzag, whatever it is, and the dogs use the nose. It's more of a focus training exercise than anything, and they really do come in handy. You can take these with you to venues, areas where it is you're training at the time. But yeah, as you can see from this side, just slides on, off, back in. What we will also do is when we're trying to get the dogs onto a scent, so a dog from basic training, we'll use these pots, and we will put the pots inside, and we'll have, say, about 2 or 3 of these out in an area with one pot inside, and we'll start getting the dogs, training the dogs onto the scent that way, with the lid off, of course. And then once these start getting used and associated to the scent, then we'll start introducing the lid to it, by placing it on, and basically having the holes up with the pot facing up through the hole. These are good for depth training because, like I said, they are about 10 inches in depth, so the dogs really do have to give it a good thorough sniff. Yeah, they are wood, so yeah, they do obviously get damaged if you don't look after them. But for the training side of things, like I mentioned, you can put them in a line, put them in zigzags. You know, as you can see on the clips here, we have them all spread out, and there's so many ways you can really put them into practice when you're trying to train your dogs for focus work.